talk about a couple things that I think you should do. The first thing internally in your organization is you need to be having regular meetings with what we call your highest governing body. Maybe that's your compliance team. Maybe it's your board of directors. I don't know. Whoever is in charge of compliance, there needs to be a sit down and a discussion. Number one, to understand the rule and what's the plan to get us from A to B, to get us to November 30th. So that discussion needs to be had, and there needs to be two-way communication. The highest governing body has to know everything that you're doing. If they're making decisions about this, they have to make sure that it's communicating downstream within your organization. So that's step one. Step two, I think, would be you need to get on a call with your technology vendors. If you're using letter vendors, if you're using, you have a dialer, or if you're, making calls or texts or emails, all those vendors have to be on board. If they're using an Arbeit, I'm hoping you're having, conversations with your agencies, because how you're going to deliver information, how they're going to use your platform could be very different now once Reg F is implemented. Make sure that the consumer information that you do have is updated. As we know, another big part of Reg F is the opportunity to use email and text. Now, I don't want to go too down a rabbit hole here, but consent's going to be really important to do that. So do you have those consents? Do you have the right email address? Do you have the right address? Do you have the right phone numbers? Maybe it's time to really start engaging consumers in advance of Reg F to update that information. And if there's incoming communication from consumers, that's a perfect time to do that and say, while I have you on the phone, which many agencies do, but there's just should be a real clear emphasis on that right now. We talked about the model validation notice and decisions that have to be made. Will you be using the limited content message? That's a big decision. And you're going to have to figure out how to do that. We talked about credit reporting. I think needs to be, your training needs to be dusted off and looked at, because as we know, with the opportunities that Reg F provides consumers, we feel consumers are going to have much more control about how, when, where, and how debt collectors are going to communicate with them. And they make the decision about that. Is your staff trained to do that? What those conversations are going to be different. Leslie and I were at a meeting the last couple of days. There's a big discussion of how much we want to engage consumers on that. Do we want to give them all the options in the world? Do we want to limit the options? That's fine, but I think the key is to listen to the consumer and find out what the consumer wants. Because if you don't comply with a consumer preference that is, in the CFPB's view and under the regs, a false, deceptive, or even harassing or unfair practice. So your staff, your scripts are all going to have to be updated. And you need to be doing that now, because it's going to take time to get everybody up to speed. Look at your document retention programs. There's requirements in the rule to do that. Another big aspect of the rule is call frequency. Although I have to say many of certainly the larger agencies that work in certain states know how to accommodate that, but that's going to be important, and you have to make sure that that is where it needs to be. And, meet with your clients. I mean, there needs to be ongoing engagement with your clients about this. This is a marathon, not a sprint. But most importantly, certainly on November 30th, when the switch goes on, your clients and you need to be on the same page.